Hello everyone, it's Shane Kanto, your Wasteland reviewer, and I'm here to review Inherit the Viper. And this is from director Anthony Jurgen and starring Josh Hartnett as the eldest brother in a group of siblings who run an opioids ring in Appalachia, and this has been part of their family business for years. And Josh Hartnett's character, he really wants out of this. And what's really keeping him is he has his younger brother who really wants to get involved. He's cocky about it. He's driving around in this really souped up car. But he has a sister who's really, really dug into this and is really the one pushing and controlling things. And then all of a sudden, one bad deal gets violent, causes a whole bunch of issues, and things start to spiral out of control. This film really captures this dark, grimy look to it with the cinematography, and the camera work is pretty inspired with some great framing, some great tracking shots, and it really helps you get into this small town kind of mindset with the darkness, the griminess of this. You're in it with this family, the Conleys, who are, for generations, been doing these bad things. And you even see a scene earlier in the film where Josh Hartnett's called out by this man who's someone very close to him died because of these drugs, and he blames Josh Hartnett's family. And that kind of fire and passion comes back later in the film in terms of consequences, and I think that's one of the biggest themes about this film, written by Andrew Crabtree, is you have how far do you go to keep together your family, and how deep is blood when compared to the consequences of your actions, the terrible things you have to do. Do you side with your family even though you're doing horrible things and causing great harm to people? Do you put yourself out there, especially when it's your family, it's your siblings, it's your younger brother who's kind of an idiot, and or maybe just really naive to what really is a part of this life? And that's one of the big things that happens in the scene where a deal turns into a shootout, which is shot very intensely. Jurgens does a great job of building tension, and also the score in this film is very inspired. It's very intense and creates an ambiance. It's very atmospheric in terms of just creating this discomfort. And everything comes together in scenes like that and towards the climax of the film where things are really coming to a head. And some really challenging things happen in terms of story-wise, where you really have to choose. And Josh Hartnett's character, Hartnett does a really fine job in this more quieter, more intense kind of stoic character, who he has his wife who's pregnant and he wants to start his family, but he doesn't want them to be involved in this life. And he has to come to grips with that. You have the sister played by Margarita Leviva, who's really intense and does a fine job in this film. You have, like, Bruce Dern pops up as an older gentleman who runs a bar that is kind of a mentoring spirit in a way to Hartnett's character and calls him out on his stuff. And this film, there's some parts that did surprise me, and I'm like, oh, it went there. It's a really solid thriller that's competently put together. It hits on some themes in a quite meaningful way. It delivers some thrills. It's probably a film that you've seen before, but I think there's enough creative juices, there's enough care that goes into Inherit the Viper to make this a solid thriller that's worth it for all of you thriller fans out there. Will this catch a whole lot of people's attention that aren't really into this kind of film? Not quite sure this really transcends that genre. But if you're a fan of thrillers and family drama, I think this film delivers enough of that to make for an experience that you might get enough out of. But those are my thoughts on Inherit the Viper. Let me know what you think, and let's talk some movies. But thank you as always for tuning in and supporting your Wasteland reviewer.